This is question 22, and it says that the diagram shows two shaded shapes, A and B. So we can see that A is actually a sector. So A is a sector. And we've also got obviously a circle there, which is B. And it says that the shape A is formed by removing a sector of a circle with radius 3x minus 1 from a sector of a circle with radius 5x minus 1. So what that means is the sector radius 5x minus 1 is actually the whole of this shape here. So this shape I'm trying to outline. So that would be the one that had a radius of 5x minus 1. And then from it, we've removed another sector, which is this bit in white here, that's not shaded in. And that's left, once we've removed that, that's left the area A here. And we're told that the two areas are equal. So area A is equal to area B. And we've got to then find out what is X in this case. So the first thing that we need to know is, what's the formula for the area of a sector? Well, the area of a sector is actually the angle that it's got, which is in this case 45 degrees, out of 360, and then times by pi r squared, which makes sense because pi r squared is the area of a circle. So really this whole area here is the fraction of a circle that the sector is. So in our case, since the angle is 45 degrees, it's actually 45 over 360 for either of the two sectors that we've got here, the smaller one or the bigger one, and then times by pi r squared. And if we, just to make life easy at the moment, I'm just going to simplify this fraction. 45 over 360 will cancel down to make 1/8. So it's 1/8 pi r squared. So then we can say, well, the shaded area A, shaded area, is actually going to be equal to the full shape from which A has been taken from. So it's going to be 5x minus 1, because that's the whole distance here, is going to be the radius for that. So we can say it's going to be 1/8 of pi and then 5x minus 1 all squared, because it's r squared there. And then from that, we're going to subtract 1/8 again of pi, but this time using the 3x minus 1, which is the area of the smaller sector. So 3x minus 1 all squared. If we factorize this, we can actually make it all a little bit easier. So we can say, well, we've got 1/8 of pi in both bits. So really it's going to be 1/8 of pi, and then I can just set up some brackets here, and then it's going to be the 5x minus 1 squared minus, and then the 3x minus 1 squared. And this is just going to make life a little bit easier, just doing that factorization. Just means a little bit less writing as we're going along. And so we're now going to need to multiply out these brackets, square out these brackets. So I'm going to do that actually just separately, just to show what that will give. So the 5x minus 1 squared is actually double brackets. So it's 5x minus 1 times by 5x minus 1. And if we do that, so because this is one of the higher level questions, I'm just going to assume we can do this reasonably easily. So 5x times 5x is going to be 25x squared. Then I've got 5x times -1 is going to be -5x. Got -1 times 5x again, which is another -5x. And then -1 times -1 is actually +1. So if I tidy that up, I've got 25x squared minus 10x plus 1. I'm going to do a similar thing with the other one, which is the 3x minus 1, which I've got to square out. So 3x minus 1 all squared is, again, double brackets. So 3x minus 1, 3x minus 1. And that's going to give us 3x times 3x is actually 9x squared. And then we've got 3x times negative 1, which is negative 3x. Negative 1 times 3x is, again, negative 3x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is plus 1. So if I tidy that up, that's going to give me 9x squared minus 6x plus 1. So these two things that I've just worked out, the 25x squared minus 10x plus 1 and the 9x squared minus 6x plus 1, I'm going to substitute back into my brackets, which is these brackets here. Okay, so I'm going to replace the 5x minus 1 squared by what I found out it was. So I'm going to get 1 over 8 pi, and then that's going to be times by, so 25x squared minus 10x plus 1, and then from that I'm going to subtract. Now the minus sign is going to actually make each one of these signs here flip, because I'm going to go, now minus times positive 9x squared is still going to be minus. But then when I come to the minus 6x, if I'm taking that away, that's got the effect of adding it. And then I'm going to go minus 1. So minus a positive 1 is minus 1. That's something to be very careful of because of the minus outside the bracket here. So it meant that all of this here was actually being subtracted. So I'm going to tidy that up. So again, I've got the 1 over 8 pi. And if I collect up terms, 25x squared minus 9x squared is 16x squared. Then I've got minus 10x plus 6x is minus 4x. And then I've got the positive 1 and the negative 1. They're just going to cancel each other out. So that's the area A, shaded area of the remaining part of the sector. We also then need to look at the circle, because what we're told is that it's equal to the area of the circle. Well, we're given the diameter of the circle there. So really what that tells us is that the radius is equal to half of that, because the diameter is twice the radius. So if I just divide that by 2, I'm going to get 1 minus x. And I think I'll just work out what the area of the circle is up here. So it's just going to be pi r squared, the formula of the circle, which we should be hopefully familiar with. And so I'm going to square this bracket here. So 1 minus x all squared times by pi at the front, of course, because of the pi there. So I'm just going to square out that bracket again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it as double brackets, so we can see what's going on there. So we can see that we've got 1 times 1 is just 1. 1 times negative x is minus x. Negative x times 1, again, it's going to give us minus x. And then negative x times negative x is going to give us positive x squared. And just because I like the order starting with an x squared, I'm going to rewrite that x squared, 2 negatives there, minus x, and another minus x is going to give us minus 2x plus 1. So that means the area of the circle, when I multiply that by pi, is going to just be pi. I'm going to factorize it there. I'm going to put that outside a bracket. Pi times x squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay, so now we've got the two areas. And in fact, what I'm going to do is, let's just equate that down here. So we're going to say, we're going to equate that, the area of the area A of the sector, we're going to equate it to this. So we're going to say that's equal to pi times x squared minus 2x plus 1. And because I've got pi on both sides, this is one of the reasons why we've kept it as pi all the way through rather than working it out as 3.14, is it can cancel now because I can just divide both sides by pi. So that makes it a lot simpler. The next thing I'm going to do is the 8 on this side here, on the bottom of the fraction. If I times both sides by 8, it's just going to go on the other side, and it's going to give us 16x squared minus 4x is equal to, and then 8 times this bracket that we're left with on the right hand side. So I'm going to multiply out that bracket, and I'm going to get 8x squared minus 16x plus 8, still equal to 16x squared minus 4x. And now what we've got is a quadratic equation. So what we need to do is try and get everything over to the same side, and so make it equal to 0. So I'm going to take everything over, I'll do it in stages. So I'm going to take away 8x from both sides, 8x squared from both sides, I mean. So if I do that, then what I'll end up with is just 8x squared minus 4x equals negative 16x plus 8. You may be able to do this a lot quicker, all in one go, in fact, but I'm just demonstrating this. So we now got to add 16x to both sides. And if we do that, that simplifies to make 8x squared plus 12x equals 8. I'm just going to take away 8 from both sides, and that will give us 8x squared plus 12x minus 8 equals 0. So it's almost, well, it's in the right form now, really, equal to 0. But I can simplify it a stage further. So what I can do is, because everything is a multiple of 4, I can just divide through by 4, everything by 4 in this. So that will give me 2x squared, 8 divided by 4 is 2, plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. And we need to try and put this into 2 brackets now to try and solve it. We could use this quadratic formula, and that would be another alternative. But I'm going to put this into 2 brackets, and obviously still equal to 0. So because the first term there is 2x squared, we can get that from having 2x and x. So 2x times x will give us the 2x squared. The number here has got to multiply to make minus 2. And also when we multiply out the bracket, we've got to get 3x. So it's a little bit of a trial and error. There are different methods for doing this, and I've done these in other videos. This one's not too difficult, not too complicated really, to possibly see that we've got, if we made that one a 2, and we made this one, so I've made that one a positive 2, and we made this one a negative 1, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check that that's correct. So let's have a look at that. So we could multiply it out. 2x times x will give us 2x squared. 2x times positive 2 would give us 4x. Minus 1 times x would give us minus x. And then minus 1 times 2 would give us minus 2. So if we just simplify that, we can see that we would get 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. And that's the same as what we were trying to factorise. So that shows us we've done the correct factorisation. So let's just go back to the brackets again. I'll just keep it in this pen colour now. Got 2x minus 1 and x plus 2 equals 0. So that means that either the first or the second bracket is actually equal to 0. So if it was the first bracket equal to 0, 2x minus 1 would equal 0. And if I add 1 to both sides, 2x equals 1. and then divide by 2, x is equal to 1/2. If I use the other bracket, so if I say x plus 2 equals 0, then that would give me, if I take away 2 from both sides, that would give me that x was equal to -2. So the thing is, because we're in the real world with this one, so it's not just an algebraic question, it's actually measuring a distance, then we can't have a negative value for x. That wouldn't make sense for this distance here, 2x, to actually be 2 times -2, to be a negative distance. So we can say, for our answer, we can actually say x can't be negative. So we can reject this one. And this is our answer. The x is equal to 1/2. That's the correct answer. So we might want to just make certain that the examiner knows that we do mean that one to be the correct one. And I hope that's been helpful to you, because that's the final answer there. And if it has been, please consider subscribing to our channel and liking the video. Thanks for watching.